Hello everyone, we're going to go over the safety demonstration and test on the hand grinders. You guys, you're going to use a ton of hand grinders over a period of time in Capitol High when you're doing your welding fabrication. They're just a very common tool. The most common one as far as size is one of these smaller ones that holds a 4-inch wheel. So we call this a 4-inch hand grinder. What I do want you guys to understand is you can put a lot of different cutting tools as the disc on here. There's a lot you can do with this, okay? So a common one we use, this is called a flapper disc. I hope you can see that well. This is more for sanding and light polishing, a little bit of grinding, but these wear out fairly quick, but they really do a nice job of sanding your metal when you want to clean something up, okay? The regular abrasive disc, this would be the standard one, something like this, very abrasive, throws a lot of sparks, cuts quickly, okay? That can be used well. This type of wheel can be put on there. It's a wire brush. This can be screwed onto the bottom of this and you can use it to clean like rust off of your steel, something like that, okay? And we also can put this one on and you can see it's very thin and you screw it onto the grinder and that helps you get in and clean welds up in a tight spot. So four most common things would be this narrow wire brush, round wire brush, standard abrasive grinding disc, and then what we call a flapper disc, which are these little flaps, more of a sanding and polishing disc, okay? As far as safety goes, everybody, earmuffs or earplugs are definitely a must with this. No question, you will not be grinding in my class without hearing protection. Your best bet is to put earplugs in and the earmuffs on top of that. Then you're really going to drown out some of the sound and it's super helpful. The other big thing is I don't want you grinding sparks onto somebody else. It gets tough in here. When we put 15 to 20 kids in here all working and we're fabricating, there's a lot going on, projects all over the room. Inevitably somebody's grinding something and it's actually hard not to grind somebody with like throw sparks on them. I need you to be courteous and do whatever you can to do your grinding to where it's not affecting other people. If at all possible, I want you to do your grinding in the grinding room where we can close the door off. The noise won't be so bad all over the room that way. We can keep the sparks tightly closed into a small area and we're in good shape. But a lot of times, the Welding 2 and Welding 3 projects are big. You end up at this table, you end up out in front of the shop, you end up somewhere on the floor here, and you just can't grind in a way that separates you from everybody else. So if at all possible, grind in the grinding room. If not, I understand and we'll do it where we need to do it, okay? But please don't grind intentionally, throw sparks all over people, okay? Next, if you're gonna grind, folks, you gotta have a way of holding your object. So we've got vices, like we got this big vise here, we've got vices in the grinding room, but you would never just start grinding a piece of steel, for example this, without clamping it down with a clamp, something like this, or by putting it in a vise. As soon as the grinding wheel hits it, it's going to launch this piece of steel. So you have to be very careful of that. So use clamps to clamp it to a table to hold it securely, or any vise in the shop will work just fine, okay? Now, you guys, every year I have students slip with the grinder and actually hit the power cord, okay? It gets old. I'm the one that has to pay to get these fixed. I can't fix them myself because they require an electrician to fix them for safety reasons. And so every time we have a student accidentally grind one of these, it ends up costing our program money. So I don't want that. What I want you to do when you're grinding, you guys, is have the cord over your shoulder like this. I like to keep the cord over my shoulder, and then there's nothing loose hanging here to get in the way while I'm grinding, okay? If it starts falling off your shoulder, you could always put a loop in there, you know, keep it in there, something like that. Whatever you gotta do to keep this mess from laying on your metal while you're trying to grind it, okay? Next thing, we want to have the handles on the grinder. The nice thing about these grinders is they have, you know, slots where you can put the grinder handle on one side if you're right-handed, one side if you're left-handed. It's whatever works for you. Okay, I'm right-handed, so it makes sense that I'm going to pull the trigger with my right hand, hold the grinder with my left, just like this, okay, very securely. The other big thing is you must have the safety shield around the disc. Do not operate a hand grinder without that safety shield around it. You can loosen this screw, rotate this thing, and put it into different positions, whatever you need to do, okay? But you don't run this without the safety shield on there, okay? All right, let me go through these questions, make sure we're covering everything. So I'm going to go through it. Number one, why must the safety guard be used when grinding? The safety guard that I said had to be on there, the reason you have to have it, you guys, number one, the sparks hit it and then they basically bounce off the safety guard and go out. Instead of going toward you, the safety guard is blocking you from all the sparks. That's the big thing it's doing, is all those sparks are not getting you, they're going and deflecting off here and going somewhere else. That's the big thing. The other thing it can do, if your grinding disc ever did shatter, this would also protect you. So number one, why must the safety guard be used when grinding? To keep the sparks directed where you want them to go, and especially off of you. Number two, what must be done with a cracked or chipped grinding wheel before using the grinder? You guys, if you ever inspect one of these, you get up to it, look at the wheel, and if it's got like a crack in it or a chunk missing out of it, take it off and get rid of it, okay? There's no reason to use a damaged wheel. Number three, why should the grinding wheel never be applied straight down on a projection when you're grinding? Now, guys, you never want to grind straight down on something. You always want to come at it from the front, and you're moving back and forth to get something down smaller and smaller. If you go straight down on top of it, you will wear a groove into the disc, okay, and then the disc can explode on you. So we don't ever take something like this right here that's sticking up and then just go right on it. No way, okay? We're going to want to either go back and forth to wear it down, or we can actually buy a cutoff wheel, which is another type of grinding wheel you can buy that goes on here, and it literally is meant to come in from the side and shear something off. But don't come straight down. You'll grind a groove in there. The wheel will come apart. Okay, number four, why must gloves be worn when using a hand grinder? It's obvious. You guys, you have hot sparks running everywhere. That's going to hurt your hands. But the big one is this. If you ran this barehanded and then this slipped and hit your hand, you're going to destroy your hand. You're going to have a very serious injury. We always wear our welding gloves when we're grinding, okay? Period. No grinding without gloves. All right, next one, number five. What must be done with the electrical cord attached to the grinder? I said, get it over your shoulder, off the table, out of the way. I'm going to be really ticked if somebody grinds the cord. No reason for that to happen. 6, why must hearing and eye protection be used when hand grinding? Obviously, you're going to have safety glasses, everybody, to protect your eyes from the sparks, and we're going to have the earmuffs and the earplugs, preferably both, to keep your hearing from getting damaged. Number 7, why must you always make sure the grinder on-off switch is turned off before plugging it in? Folks, please make sure this thing is off before you plug it in. The worst thing would happen would be if somebody had locked this thing on and then plugged it in. It's going to scare you, number one, when you plug that in and that grinder takes off on you. Most of the time, the grinder is sitting on the table when we go to plug it in. And if the on-off switch were locked in the on position when I go to plug this in, that grinder is going to start spinning and it's going to launch itself right off the table. So never, ever plug this thing in with the on-off switch on, okay? On these grinders that I use, you guys, these Fine brand, what you're going to do, I'm hoping you guys can see that. There's a little toggle lever here. You're going to have to pull this back, then squeeze. That's a safety feature. So pull down on the toggle right here, and then squeeze. That's going to get you going, okay? All right, next one. Number 8. Why must you always grind to direct sparks away from your classmates? Out of common courtesy, do not be grinding stuff to where it's going to hurt somebody else. Number 9, What should be adjusted on the grinder to make the sparks go where you want them to go? The safety shield, the safety guard, whatever you want to call it. You can move this around, sideways, front ways, whatever, to direct the sparks where you want them to go. Okay, number 10, where should the majority of the grinding take place in our welding shop? It should take place in the grinding room by the back door, but if not, we'll do it where we got to do it. And 11, why should you never take the safety guard off the hand grinder? We never, ever grind without the safety guard on there. The wheel would be totally exposed, and if it hit you for some reason, it would cut you up really bad. It also protects you from these sparks. So we just flat out do not run this grinder without the safety guard on it, okay? And then lastly, I do want to show you guys how to change this. There's a wrench that goes with these. What you're going to do is push this button down, turn this. This is going to lock in place. Okay, now it's locked. And then you're going to take that, loosen that up, and then that will come right off. Okay, so take that out, spin this off, put your other grinding wheel on, lock it on, tighten it up, and you're in business. Okay, and you only change these out, only change the grinding wheels out when you have got this thing unplugged. So that should do it on the grinding test. There's 11 questions on hand grinders. Make sure you answer them correctly. Watch the video twice if you need to. Thank you.